So many brands fail at A/B testing before they even start running their first test. How is that possible? It's possible because they're not setting themselves up for success prior to running that first test. In this video, we're going to show you how to be successful in running an A/B test, how to run an A/B test the right way so that you're not failing up front and you give yourself the best possible chance to have a great outcome for your test program. So let's jump into the video. All right, let's get started. What is A/B testing? It's simple in concept, but the results can be powerful when you embrace it. A/B testing is the process of showing two different versions of something like a web page, hero section, banner, button, anything on a web page, and comparing that against another version to see which one performs better. Instead of relying on gut feelings, A/B testing allows you to say with data which version is better. You get away from making decisions based on what design looks good, and you start to embrace more data-driven decision-making when you go about designing your storefront. It's about being able to say, this version created an X% increase in conversion rate versus the other version, okay? It's evidence-based, not assumption-based. Okay, so here's how A/B testing works. You take your website traffic and you split it evenly across two versions, version A, B, C, D, however many versions you want to test. Each visual will only see one of these versions, and the traffic should be split evenly amongst all your test variants. From there, you measure a specific KPI or key performance indicator. Of course, you want to look at all of them to see all the effects of your test, not just one. But typically, you focus on one as a starting point. This can be click-through rates on a call to action button. This could be add to cart rates. This could be a variety of things depending on what your objective is for the test. The key is to stay focused on one change at a time, okay? You want to make sure that while you're testing, you limit the amount of variables and you focus. You focus on the data points you're interested in and you focus on the changes you're making. This will allow you to clearly see which version is performing better. When most people think about A/B testing, they think about conversion rates. But there's hidden benefits that can go much deeper when you embrace a culture of testing. First, A/B tests show your customer behavior patterns. For example, you might see that shoppers spend more time scrolling with a video on page versus not having a video on page. You might see that a simpler layout keeps people more engaged. These insights help you understand what customers are actually doing when they land on your page. They reveal the preferences and behaviors of your customer. Insights you would not have gotten if you had not run your test. Second, testing allows you to build a culture of experimentation within your organization. If you've never tested before within your brand, there may be some hesitation. There might be a little bit of nervousness. Where do you get started? Is this worth it? Building up the experimentation muscle, as we call it, allows you to unlock more of a customer-centric approach where you look and really dive into how your customers are responding to your brand and to your e-commerce storefront. Finally, A/B testing allows you to embrace a data-driven approach to decision-making. This takes decisions away from gut feelings or preferences and puts the focus more on the customer and allows your team to understand how your customer actually acts and operates and their preferences in real time when you present them with multiple experiences on your storefront through A/B testing. Okay, now we've covered the ways that A/B testing is extremely powerful, but here's what we haven't covered. The things that A/B testing isn't great at or can't solve. Look, A/B testing is powerful. We know this, but it can't fix poor fundamentals. It can't fix a poorly converting product. It can't fix a traffic problem, meaning you have not enough traffic landing on your site to begin with, and it cannot fix a bad product. And it also can't fix a really poor offer, okay? So if your offer is really not competitive with the marketplace and it doesn't make sense for shoppers, no amount of testing is going to fix these problems. Think of it like trying to polish a broken engine. If it's not running, it's not running. It doesn't matter how nice it looks, okay? So what you have to do is you have to fix your underlying business dynamic problems before testing is going to help you. Testing works best when you have a solid foundation to build on. So make sure that's in place before you even get started with A/B testing. If you don't, you're not going to be successful with A/B testing. Just to reiterate on this point, these limitations matter. It's important to recognize that because they can make and break the results of your tests. Look, if you only have 100 visitors coming to your site per day, your data is going to be super lumpy. It's not going to be reliable, and it's going to take a really long time to smooth out the ups and downs. So sample size matters, okay? Also, look, if your data if you don't have a key firm grasp on your data, your tests are likely not going to be successful. If you're not sure your order counts, your conversion rates, and your baseline, you have no idea how your tests are performing, then A/B testing won't work for you. So you need to make sure that your data is in a great place and you understand how to track things before you get started with A/B testing. Misleading results are pretty much the worst thing that can happen with A/B testing. So it's critical that you get that right. You don't want to be pushed in the wrong direction. And that's what can happen if you don't have your data solved. Okay. So these are why you really need to focus on limitations and make sure you've solved them before you can embrace actually doing great testing. Okay, now let's jump into how you can actually produce reliable tests repeatably. Look, before you jump into testing, you need to have your data collection game on point. What does this mean? Heat maps, surveys, session replays, talking to your customers. This is the most critical step before you start testing. This is going to give you insights, which will inform your hypothesis. And that's our next step. Make sure you have a sound hypothesis. This comes from having a firm grasp on how your customers are expecting to experience your site when they arrive on it. Again, this is through heat maps and surveys and actually observing your customer. Once you have that, you have to define a proper hypothesis. For example, if we move reviews above the fold, conversions will increase because the shoppers will trust our product more. Okay. That's a hypothesis. Okay. That can only happen when you've collected the data first. Next thing you want to do, make sure you're QAing everything after launch. Okay. You're tracking your analytics setup, make sure things are looking good. Don't want to waste time discovering 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 days into your test that something was broken and you need to start over. So make sure that's set up. And even after launch, make sure within that first 24 hours that everything's looking good and normalized before you can sort of rest easy and let the test do the hard work over the following days and weeks. Let's jump into some examples here. We've got a couple of case studies that we've referenced before, and they're so important because it just shows the power of how A/B testing can work. Okay. Clear Within, great brand. They got big results. It was very simple, their test was. They moved the call to action above the fold on mobile. Look, there was a few other changes in the test, but that really was the big difference, right? This had an insane 80% increase in add to cart rate when they ran this, right? You'd be surprised at how big impact you can make with very small changes. Don't ignore those, okay? Make sure your fundamentals of your experiences are just that, fundamental. Make sure they're on point. Make sure that they're very well optimized, especially on mobile if you haven't thought about your mobile experience, okay? That's important. This is a great case study to illustrate that point. Small shift in layout can have a big impact, increase persuasion, make it easier for customers to act on, and can lead to a significant increase in conversions. Do not ignore the small but important key inputs for your user experience. Another great case study here, this from the brand Sunny 16. And this is another situation where product pages had key details buried. Reviews are hard to scan. Hero section lacks strong value messaging. The fundamentals, as we mentioned before. After the redesign, highlighted key value, pushed the value points up to the top, made it easier to scan and read quickly, condensed product info into tabs, shorter layouts, made the reviews a lot easier to read and access. And guess what? We had a enormous and absolutely crazy 279% increase in conversion rate from less than 1% to almost 3% using Shogun A/B testing. But most importantly, not just our tool didn't do this, their wisdom did this, where they looked at their data, looked at their fundamentals, came up with a hypothesis that they need to have a clear hierarchy, made some changes that were smart and intelligent, ran out a controlled test, most importantly. They didn't just throw it out there with no control. They tested against the baseline, and this is how they knew that they had a winner. All those things had to come together to make Sunny 16 successful in this test, and there's an awful lot we can learn about that with looking at their example. Key point here, look, you want to make sure you're hitting the fundamentals, just like we mentioned with Clear Within, and make sure you're testing to see if you have an impact on your baseline. All right, folks, there you have it. I hope you learned a little bit about how to run an A/B test the right way so you can get started with your testing program on the right foot. And also, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that, look, I work at Shogun. It's here on my shirt, okay? Shogun, what do? We offer an A/B testing tool for e-commerce merchants, specifically merchants on Shopify, and we help you optimize your storefront. Page tests, template tests, theme tests, even price tests. Yes, price tests are coming. So we have it all. We'd love for you to check it out. So I'm going to leave a link in the description below if you're interested in checking that out. And as always, we'd also be super appreciative if you like this video. Leave us a comment down below and then subscribe and click the notification bell so you can get more content from us about A/B testing in the future. We're going to be focused a lot on A/B testing, price optimization, price testing, all things testing your e-commerce storefront. So you're not going to want to miss it. Until next time, happy selling, and I'll see you in the next one.